everyone. My name is Rachel with Aging Advantage, and Aging Advantage is a nonprofit that assists disabled adults and seniors in the St. Louis area. And today I have Donna introducing the second part of Introduction to Caregiving.
Hello, we're back. Thank you so much for your time and patience. And we are going to go ahead and start the second part of the series of the roadmap to caregiving, which we started on Monday of this week. And today is Wednesday. So for the next, well, after today, we have 2 more weeks, but this week was going to be the first week of 3 weeks of a 6-part series. So we are going to go ahead and play part 2. And then, as before, we'll be back for dialect and discussion. So anyone who wants to stay around, hang around, learn a little bit more information, and have questions, possibly, we could try and answer them or just talk about what we just learned today, okay? Keep in mind that these are educational trainings for family caregivers, which families and their caregivers, which support family caregivers and their clients as they manage the aging process. These educational trainings and opportunities connect seniors and caregivers to resources in their communities. And here we go.
Welcome. Thank you for taking time to think about what it means to be a caregiver. This is the second part of an introductory session on caregiving. And in our first session, I reminded you that one way to think about this would be to think of caregiving as going on a road trip. And I suggested that going on a road trip with a good map and a good companion and some planning would make the trip a great experience. Caregivers who recognize the signs on the road of caregiving have better flexibility. They're able to be more resilient. There's a lot of obstacles that come up. There's a lot of unexpected things that happen on the journey of caregiving. And if you're able to make that journey with a good pace, a right amount of flexibility, good planning, but planning that allows you to be responsive when things change and can't go according to the plan, you'll be able to make this journey much better. Not only will it be better for the person that you're giving care to, but it will be much better for you as a caregiver. Being a caregiver can be a stressful experience. There are a lot of things that feel out of control, and many people, when they enter into the role of caregiver, are not exactly planning on doing that. So that's why taking some time to think about this can really help you sort of create a mindset and a set of coping skills that will allow you to make it through this journey well. Would be nice if the caregiver as well as the care receiver could thrive during this time. But often, this is a part of life's journey that becomes so stressful that it often has difficulties for both the person giving care and the person receiving care who's having a lot of changes and losing a lot of autonomy or independence or other things that had not been things they had planned to experience either. I'm really going to put the emphasis here on resilience and recognizing the value of this adventure. It's important to have a plan, and I'll be honest with you. The better you are at planning and the better plan you have, the easier much of this goes. However, even though you have a plan, just like if you're on a road trip, even though you have a destination, you don't want to miss everything along the way. You want to learn to be present in the moment. So while you're following your plan, you want to take time to smell the roses. You want to take time to see the sights. And you want to just recognize that a part of this is setting a pace that is sustainable. So it's not being so harried and hurried through all of it that you are just completely stressed out when things don't work out. But it's about being able to adjust and adapt and rearrange the plan if necessary. This happens all the time on trips. One time I took a trip and we were trying to go from one place to another, and we encountered a detour. And the detour took us back in the direction that we came. And when we tried to get headed back in the direction that we wanted to go, we ended up just going in circles. Sometimes caregiving can feel like that. It feels like we're not making any progress in the journey in the direction that we want to go, and instead that we're caught in a detour loop that keeps us going around and around the same things and never gets us to where we're trying to be. As a caregiver, you're the person here who has to think not only about what the person you're caring for needs, but also give thought to what it is that you'll need. You're trying to create a sustainable lifestyle for both you and the care receiver. Being able to care for yourself and remember that you're a person in all of this too. It's easy for caregivers to neglect their own health, their own needs, and their own things that re-energize them. And it's important to recognize that in order to be a good caregiver, you'll need to have those things in your life too. Create a lifestyle, and it is a lifestyle that you're trying to create here, that gives you the things that are part of what worked for you in your life leading up to your introduction into the caregiver role. If you exercised regularly, make sure that you continue to exercise regularly. If you ate certain things in your diet, try as far as possible to incorporate those things in your diet. Frequently, we find that sleep schedules are disrupted, eating schedules are disrupted, habits and patterns for relationships and exercise and just even doing some things that are fun are all things that go by the wayside for the caregiver. That can really be unfortunate because that can take the stress of being a caregiver and multiply it exponentially. So you'll want to pay close attention to how it is that you'll be able to maintain your own well-being and your own lifestyle in the midst of this. I'll go ahead and acknowledge to you, it won't be possible to do it all. You'll have to make some sacrifices, and more of the sacrifices will be yours than the person that you're giving care to. But I believe that if you're really intentional about this, you'll be able to do some of the things that will still help you feel good and be able to have your own needs met. One of the things that can be most helpful for the caregiver and also for the care receiver is if early on in your experience giving care, you can establish some routines. When I talk about establishing routines, I'm not talking about something that becomes rigid and flexible, but I'm talking about something that becomes predictable and reliable. So in my own experience of caregiving, one of the places where we needed some additional assistance was in the morning when the person I was caring for needed some care. And they needed help in the morning. So In accepting my role as a caregiver, I adjusted my work schedule so that I worked evenings 3 to 11 so that I was available in the morning to assist with the things that needed to be done. As much as possible, I still tried to stick to the things that worked in my routine for my self-care. But when I came for caregiving in the morning, I always did everything in the same order. Every once in a while, we had something that we had to adjust to this way or that. But for the most part, we always did the same thing in the same sequence. If you're working with a person who has had some experiences that have affected their thinking and their memory and their recall, doing things in a reliable routine will really help them. Even if they're having difficulties, they will settle into that routine a little bit. Routines also allow you to estimate how long things take. So if you're keeping a schedule, or if you need to get the person to a doctor appointment, or if the home health people are coming at a certain time, you'll know how to adjust the timing of the routine in order to be ready at the right time for what you need to do. I can't tell you how much stress it can save if you can develop some reliable routines. Having good routines and making good habits can save a lot of emotional energy, a lot of energy for you and for the person you're giving care for. And they also promote well-being. When people have good habits, they're able to function better. So if your person that you're caring for already has some good habits in place, and if you already have some good habits in place, by all means, try to maintain those. Don't give those up just because of this change in your life. As much as possible, try to keep up with those habits, especially if they're functional habits that worked well for somebody. So keeping up with those habits and creating reliable routines for the sequence that you'll do things, that can really save everyone a lot of stress. The other thing I want you to recognize is that even when you go on a road trip, one of the things you want to do is to have a little bit of balance. Every once in a while, you'll know somebody, or perhaps even you, have gone to Disneyland or Disney World or one of those extravagant vacations where there's so much to do, so much adventure, so much fun. And yet, the pace of that for children and parents and families is often something we have to be very intentional about. Create balance in the schedule that you create in caregiving and for the person that you're caring for. Make sure there's adequate time for rest, adequate time for doing the things that have to be done to maintain the system, and thinking about those things that offer enrichment and enjoyment, even some adventure. Remember that in creating a balanced lifestyle, you're creating a lifestyle that's more sustainable and that offers us more pleasure. It's difficult as a caregiver to think that all of that balance is going to work or be good for you. But it really is. As you're able to try to think about that and to plan that well, you'll find that it's less stressful for you when there's some balance in the schedule. Maybe the person that you're caring for is recovering from surgery or something. That time of rest is very important. But sometimes, while they're resting, it gives you an opportunity to do something else that needs to be done. You may also find, if the person's up a lot at night, that you need to rest when they rest, much like mothers need to do when they have small babies. sometimes they have to rest when the person they're caring for is resting. And so don't feel bad if your caregiving responsibilities also mean that you have to take a nap too. It's important to be well rested for this. People think better when they're well rested. A lot of what we do as caregivers is we do a lot of the thinking. We do a lot of the what's known as executive functioning, so that we're able to help that person be the boss of their life. Think of executive like an executive of a company, and executive functioning as being able to think in ways that allow you to plan and follow through and understand all the things that need to be done. Being able to think well and to do that executive functioning is really going to be an advantage for anyone who's a caregiver, because that's one of the main roles that they're serving, is to be able to do that executive functioning. If you're a person who has struggled with executive functioning issues, maybe you're a person who has had difficulty with that, or maybe even you've had attention deficit disorder or something like that, you may want to think about reading up or watching some videos or learning about how to improve some of your executive functioning capabilities. This caregiving job is so executive functioning intensive that I can hardly think of an area that might be more worthwhile to study up a little on. So now that you're establishing that life of balance, you know, the one with fun and the things that you need to do and adequate rest and having a good lifestyle that allows for exercise and good eating and all of the things that we need emotionally and psychologically and socially to be well connected. Again, our experience with the pandemic demonstrated to us how difficult it can be when people don't have the opportunities to be socially connected and emotionally present with others. It's a great difficulty, so making time for that is really important. One of the ways to make sure that you can create that kind of balance and a sustainable lifestyle for yourself is by becoming familiar with the resources that are available in your area. One of the great places to start there is the Area Agency on Aging. They can help you find out quickly what kind of services are available in the community where you live. Many community services operate under some kind of a funding source, maybe even a grant, where the funding is contingent upon the organization or the service being able to demonstrate their value to the community. I want to help you understand that by using community resources, you're not taking something, you are assuring something can continue. I hope that's a helpful idea for you. When someone's given a grant and they're supposed to do outreach and to make sure that people find out about them and use their service, they really do need people to use their service so that when it comes time to turn in their report for that grant, they're able to say how many people they helped, how much help they gave them, and what the change in the community and in that person's life was as a result of this service that was provided through this grant. Every once in a while, people seem reluctant to use community services, but having worked in community organizations and having written grants and recognized the things that I wished I could demonstrate so that the people funding those services could see how valuable they were, as I wish that everyone would recognize the importance of using our community resources. You may even find in community resources that your local library has a lot of information about community resources. I know in some libraries, they even interface with organizations that give services to maybe to the elderly or maybe to special populations. So being able to tap into that opens up another opportunity for you to be aware of services, whether those services are for enrichment or whether those services offer you an opportunity for the person that you're caring for to go and do something while you have some time for yourself. That takes me to the next idea, taking care of yourself. Being able to have some respite care, someone else who comes in and takes care of a part of the caregiving just for you, so that you can do whatever you need to do for yourself. Maybe you need to go to the doctor appointment that you've made. Maybe you need to go and see a friend. Maybe you need to run some errands. Whatever it is that you need to do, if you have a trusted person or a professional who can come in for a period of time and provide care while you have a break, that helps to create that balance that we were talking about. That capacity to create a sustainable lifestyle where you have some breaks and where you're able to do the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. The better you take care of yourself, the easier it is and the better job you do of taking care of the person that you're caring for. This leads us to our conversation about the use of professional help. If you or the person that you're caring for has sufficient means, it is entirely appropriate to look for those things that make sense for hiring professional help. There may be some professional help that's going to be covered by insurance. So a few minutes ago, I gave an example of maybe you're caring for someone who has recently had surgery. When you're caring for someone who's had surgery, you often find that there's a period of time where home health services are covered by the insurance. And those services may involve occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and other forms of assistance that are considered necessary for helping that person get back to their baseline level of functioning. Recognizing that incorporating those professionals onto your team can really help. And don't hesitate to recognize when something that you're trying to do is too difficult or that you don't have a good method for doing it. It's a good idea to use those professionals to help you either learn how or to actually provide the service while you're getting your feet wet as a caregiver. Many people who've done a lot of these things for a long time know all of the tricks and all of the ways to get things done best and safest. So if you need assistance, be sure and ask. Professional help is very important. As you're going along, having a plan for how to utilize professional help, particularly if the budget is limited or you'll be needing to take extra care for how to do that and when to do that. You'll want to have those conversations and work that into your plan so that you know at what point it becomes feasible to bring in that professional care. I also want to note that sometimes the care we need from outside doesn't necessarily have to be a trained professional. One of the things that we can do sometimes is to look for those tasks that would just make it easier if we didn't have to also do that. And that might be a task that you would hire out. Sometimes as people age, we see this happening. I know that there was a certain point as my parents aged where we had a discussion about at what point my dad should give up mowing the lawn. And when we got to that point, he hired someone to mow the lawn. Maybe you know people who have had that conversation about at what time does some of the housework become.
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe it timed out because it should have been saying something about the end, but we did get lots of information once again. I don't know why I just cut out like that. Um, wasn't really paying attention to the very end. I know it's really getting close to the end though. So hopefully then on the next video on Monday, we will come back and we'll have they'll pick up from there. Actually, it's a different topic, but we'll see. I do believe we still got a lot of great information and yeah, just a lot of tools for us to be able to help other people, or if somebody looks on here and see, um, want to get some information about the caregivers and helping and planning, because it sounds like planning was a big thing that she talked about, a lot of planning that helps you to, I guess, be more at ease when you're traveling or whatever you're doing. Just it goes into every aspect in life, though, not just traveling, even, planning, like she said, when the parent gets to the point where they should be maybe or maybe not ready to stop driving. I know that's always a difficult subject or topic, because you're stripping away somebody's independence, and anytime that they're used to being independent, used to doing what they can do, usually sometimes they're not aware of their cognition of being that it's kind of either delayed or not as fast as it used to be, and it's slowing down. So they think that they can still do as they've always been doing because they feel good and they feel okay. Nothing major has happened in their life to make them feel like, okay, I've gotten older now, but that's why caregivers are there, whether you're somebody that's paid or a family member. You're there with your loved one or with the person taking care of them, making sure that they are able to still age in place, be healthy as they do. And as you see that things are declining in their life, you have to start having those conversations or start making the necessary steps to move forward to still healthy living for the person. So I think planning is a great thing, most definitely. I plan things all the time, weeks in advance. Sometimes I get up in the morning saying I'm planning for the evening, like dinner, what are we going to have for dinner? And my family thinks I'm greedy. They're like, we're not thinking about dinner, we're trying to get breakfast. But to me, I have to plan it so that I know if I need to go to the store or what I have to prepare for dinner, because I don't want to wait to 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evening. I'm trying to cook dinner and I don't have all the items I'm trying to cook dinner. Then what's that's going to do? It's going to throw me off. Either I got to find something else or I'm have to go to the store. So I think planning is a good thing to do and to have in your life when you're whether you're taking care of somebody or just for your own well-being. Once you plan, it helps you to have a more settled thought process, if I must say. And to me, it just helps me not to experience kind of like anxiety. So that's what I think. What you ladies think? Anybody else on here want to comment or talk?
I love how they talked about like mental health.
Just to, kind of piggyback.
What'd you say?
She's on her phone, so it may not be picking up well. Well, you were saying you enjoyed it though, Rachel?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed how they talked about mental health and emotional well-being and take like the caregivers need to take care of themselves before taking care of other people, which I think is great because you can't pour from an empty cup. You really just can't. So,
Well, that's awesome. That's really good.
resting
That's
while
so
they
true.
rest, that's a good idea too.
Yeah, you're right. That's for sure. And the thing about caregiving, it can be to me, it's kind of like what you make it almost. So if you take on all the tasks and you don't prepare yourself, then it can be very much overwhelming and you never take breaks. That's how you get burnout. But if you pace yourself, allow the necessary help, like she was talking about on Monday, when somebody is saying that they're here and they want to help, let them actually help. Don't just say, no, I don't need it and I'm okay. And then, you get into a bind some type of way in a day and you just like, oh, what am I going to do? Well, that's the time you lean on that help and people reached out to you to be able to lend a helping hand, receive it. So, that's what I mean when I'm like, it's kind of like the balls in your court. If you don't utilize the resources and the people there around you that can help you and that want to help you and do the planning for whether it's a trip or just planning for the different aspects of life. Be prepared, for when mom or dad stop driving, because when they're stopped driving, that means then somebody else has to take on the responsibility of those duties that they used to do, whether it's going to the grocery store, doctor's appointments, tea dates, or friend dates or things like that. Who's going to do that? Who's going to, step in their stead to make sure that they still have that active, successful aging in place life that they once had and that they want to have, because if not, then we'll get them being more combative towards us saying, no, give me my keys. Where's my keys? And, just trying to leave on their own and things like that. But if we will help prepare and plan, I think that I truly believe that's a good way of us helping them to still keep their independence, but just age in place well. I think that's one of the main things there. So um, I'm not sure. Did you have something you wanted to say? Are you okay?
I was just gonna piggyback on something that you had kind of said earlier about making the plans. It's good to make these plans and to be prepared, but you also have to be prepared to be flexible,
Yeah,
right?
you're
Like to
right.
kind of
For sure.
and it's to go to Margaret's analogy from the very beginning, right? You don't want to necessarily go in circles.
Right. You're
But you
right.
have to be
Absolutely.
prepared for those detours. You have to be
Yep.
prepared to like, oh, well, mom and dad can't drive now, and they always go to their church on Wednesdays, and suddenly I can't take them this Wednesday. Well, who can take them, or do they need to just skip this week, right? Like you need to
Right.
kind of
Those
talk through those
hiccups.
different like how flexible can we be,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
get and try to get resources for that too, like right, like
Hmm.
the variety of options, because a lot of things can happen.
Lots of things can happen. That's right. Even when you're playing ahead of time, still things, hiccups coming on the road. There's, for instance, when you are going on a road trip, you have to prepare. What if you get a flat tire? So is your spare already back there in the trunk? Or you just got to wait on the side of the road to roadside come, or can you make it to the next exit to a near uh, tire station place? Um, yeah, that's so true. And you have to keep calm and be patient, because that's for me. I'm talking to myself now, because when hiccups come, whether I've think that I've well planned out things or not, or talked about it, thought about it, when things come, I have to be able to talk to myself and say, okay, hold on, take a deep breath, breathe. What are the next options? What can we do so that this can continue? Even though I have this small problem, let's try not to make it a bigger problem or a big problem that just ruins your day. Yeah. Well, ladies, if nobody has any other questions or comments, I don't think anybody. Let's see here. I can see on our thing here if anybody commented. I never could get up here or get on here very often, so I'm trying to see if either one of you guys have yours up. I don't even know where it is. So I was just going to see if have you guys noticed that we had any type of comments or anything from anybody? Anyone on there? Not many people probably knew that we were redoing it at this time because we did kind of, you know, we didn't plan. We planned to do it today, but we didn't plan to do it at that moment in time. So just like today, yeah, we had to plan to come back and do it later, and it worked out well. I think it did. We still have 3 people on here and able to discuss and dialogue of what we talked about or what Margaret talked about. And she's such a great teacher, educational informationist. Could I, if I can call her. But again, we just thank everybody for tuning in. And whenever you do tune in, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always reach out to Aging Advantage and we can put you in the right direction for what you need, how you need it. And we just appreciate your time and coming on, watching and making sure you get what you need. It's most important to us. So again, thank you. And again, thanks to Margaret for making the video for us so we are able to provide that information and share it with our clients. So if no more to be said, again, thanks, and we'll catch up, resume on Monday. Let's see, I don't think we have any others this week. Look on my calendar really quick. Today is Wednesday, nothing
I
Thursday.
think
So Monday.
I think we have two on Monday.
We do. One at 12 to 1 and another one at 2. So hopefully Monday, the one at 12 o'clock, we don't have any computer issues. Fingers crossed. So if you're available again, Rachel, around that time, we'll kind of do like we did this evening where and we'll just kind of do it that way to make sure, hopefully, I still had a little computer problem, but I don't know what the problem was, but hopefully Monday everything is cleared up for us. So looking forward to Monday.